People, one of my favorite fish in my fish tank is my ropefish Nagini. She literally looks like a little sea snake and I just love her, man. But yeah, when I think back to the time when I first saw the ropefish and I was trying to decide whether I should get one for my aquarium, the number one question I had is, can you even have tank mates with ropefish? Well, I've had my ropefish for over 2 years now and I've had plenty of time to do some experimenting, and if you've watched my channel before, you know that I've got quite a few fish in this fish tank. And yeah, let's talk about some of the fish that you can keep as tank mates for your ropefish or reedfish. Now people, before I start this video properly, there's a very important thing that I should mention, which is every single animal is different. If you've watched a lot of my videos, I'll probably sound like a broken record because I say this all the time, but people, you honestly need to understand that every animal is different, meaning the way my ropefish is acting with all of my fish, that is my ropefish's personality. You could get one today and it might eat everything in your tank. You just honestly don't know. It all comes down to luck and their personality, really. However, generally speaking, these tank mates should work for you, unless of course you have like this really super aggressive ropefish. But yeah, anyway, first things first, before we even talk about other tank mates, let's talk about whether you should keep them in a group or by themselves. And people, you can pretty much do both. You can keep them in a group, they'll be perfectly fine with each other, or you can keep them by themselves. My ropefish Nagini, she has been by herself from the start. Well, actually that's a lie, I did have one other one at one point. I started off with just Nagini and she was there by herself, and then eventually I bought another one. She was slightly bigger than the other one and she just ended up biting its tail. She didn't bite it off or anything, she just bit it. I'm not sure whether it was something romantic like for breeding or whether it was aggression. However, that particular ropefish didn't last very long. He lasted for about a month or so and then he unfortunately passed away. But since then, I have not seen Nagini bite anyone else. Kind of, anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, when it comes to whether you should keep them in a group or by themselves, both work. However, if you just keep two, for example, and one is more dominant than the other, then you may get some fighting. So if you do want to keep them in a group, I'd say keep at least 3. Okay, cool. Now we can start exploring some of the tank mates that you can potentially have with this ropefish. And the first things that I want to cover is what they say online. Now, the thing that I've noticed whilst keeping fish is a lot of the times what they say online doesn't necessarily match up with real life. For example, there have been times where I've kept fish where it's said that they should be in a species only tank. However, I've tried it out in my community tank and it worked out fine. My Moray eel is a prime example for that. But yeah, just to cover all of it, let's see what they actually say online. Okay, so if I just look on Google, it says there are plenty of fish that can serve as great tank mates for your ropefish. These include the dwarf gourami, pictus catfish, Siamese algae eaters, tinfoil bob, glass catfish, wala sharks, and coolie loach. And yeah, on the surface of it, I guess they are technically correct. All of those fish would work out fine. But there's a much simpler way of trying to figure out what fish would or wouldn't work with your ropefish. And all you have to do is look at their mouth. When it comes to fish, and that is pretty much all the fish, people, even if they are peaceful, if they can fit something in their mouth, they will most probably try and eat it. Now, before we carry on, if you want to see more videos like this every single week, then please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and I'm just trying to grow this channel, man. But yeah, anyway, let's actually have some real life examples now, because like I said, I've had my ropefish for 2 years and all of my fish in the fish tank currently are perfectly fine with it. So let's just start going through them. However, there are definitely some that didn't work. I'm gonna start talking about them after. But first, let's go through the ones that did work. And I guess the most obvious one would probably be the Boesmani rainbow fish. They are just way too big to be eaten. I guess when they're babies, then yeah, there is a small chance that they might get eaten. However, if you get a decent sized Boesmani rainbow fish, even if they're like this big, they should be fine. But if you have a smaller tank and you want to stay on the safe side, you could let them grow out in that tank a little bit first as well before you put them in your main tank. But yeah, generally speaking, the Boesmani should be fine. I've got 2 young ones in my tank currently and they actually started off tiny and they were completely fine. They are very fast and boisterous fish, so they are cool. Now, the next fish that worked out are the Congo tetras. Now, I can tell you right now that the small tetras will not work. That's actually one of the fish that didn't really work. However, Congo tetras are much bigger. like a lot bigger, especially the adults. They get quite big and they're very fast. They're also very boisterous, so they are very unlikely to get bullied or even eaten by this ropefish. Now, the ropefish doesn't really go to the surface, so most surface dwelling fish will be fine as well. In my case, I only have the 2 African butterfly fish, and yeah, they are completely fine. The surface of the water is their territory. But yeah, ropefish and butterfly fish, they're completely fine. There's also a rosy bob in there. Special shout out to him because he's the only one. He's fine as well. And the Siamese algae eaters, like they mentioned on Google, they are also fine as well. Now people, let's go through some of the more interesting ones, because the ones I've mentioned so far, I feel like they are pretty obvious that they won't end up as snacks. However, the next few fish in my fish tank are kind of surprising. So first I want to mention the hillstream loaches. The hillstream loaches, they are kind of small and their tail kind of looks a bit like a worm. So I was kind of worried when I first introduced them into the fish tank, especially with my moray eel as well, because out of my ropefish and the moray eel is actually the more aggressive one. But yeah, the hillstream loaches are completely fine with the ropefish. The ropefish does not go after them at all. Now, the last few fish I want to talk about that worked is the corridoras, the pleco, and a whiptail catfish. Oh, and the Synodontis petricola. They are all fine. Like all of these bottom dwelling fish, they don't like attack the ropefish. The ropefish doesn't attack them. They are perfectly fine. And I guess the only ones that are left, wait, hang on, I didn't even mention my angelfish. Yeah, by the way, angelfish are fine as well, people. The last 2 are my oddball fish, and that is the ghost knife and the moray eel. And people, honestly, they are all completely fine. The ropefish goes in and out of the caves, and that includes the cave that my moray eel and the ghost knife share, and there's no problems ever. Like, I don't want to jinx it. Let me touch some wood. They've been completely fine. The ropefish, like, once again, people, remember every animal is different, but my ropefish is genuinely very, very friendly. It's mad because when I first wanted to get the ropefish, I was so worried that it was just going to be this really aggressive fish and it's going to eat all of my tank mates. They're not my tank mates. That it's going to eat all of my fish. However, it has been okay, kind of. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the ones that didn't really work. Yeah, people, I've tried out cardinal tetras in this tank, and that was actually before I got my moray eel. And I would say like over a month, they pretty much all got eaten. I had like 10 in there. Yeah, those cardinal tetras, the only thing that could have eaten them was the ropefish. She's the only one whose mouth was big enough, you know? So even though she was well fed, she did eat some of the cardinals. So yeah, that's one that didn't really work out. Another one, and this one really broke my heart, people, was my massive bamboo shrimp. I've actually still got the video up on my channel. It's like one of the first videos I've uploaded, and I bought this really big bamboo shrimp. And it was so beautiful and it was amazing, and it was just chilling there on a rock and filtering all the dirt off the water, and it was doing completely fine. And then one day it molded and I just never saw it again. And the thing is, when these things mold, their skin gets very soft, their shell gets very soft, and like I said, the ropefish at the time was the only thing that would have attacked it, and I'm pretty sure the ropefish completely ate up my bamboo shrimp. And I'll try to put some footage up, people, but that bamboo shrimp was massive. So yeah, it is a bit of a tricky one, but I do have to say that right now the ropefish is very comfortable with majority of the fish. It may have something to do with the fact that it eats the dry food that I feed to the tank. I feed Tetra Prima granules and Tetra Color Multi-Crisp, or Tetra Pro Color Multi-Crisp, something like that. These, innit? I feed these to the tank and my ropefish absolutely loves it. I mean, every time I put food in the tank, she comes out straight away and just starts eating. And of course she eats the shrimp that I feed to my moray eel. So she is well fed, so she doesn't actually have any need to attack any of the fish. But yeah, anyway, people, now that we kind of know the things that do work, all you have to do is just use some simple logic to kind of see what else would and wouldn't work. For example, if a Bosemani rainbow fish works, then something in that similar size is going to work as well. Same thing with the tetras and the corridoras and stuff like that. However, do always remember, people, that every animal is different, and you could get a ropefish that is a complete psycho and will eat everything in your tank. Now, of course, when it comes to looking after ropefish, their tank mate is only one small part of it. There's a lot more that comes into play when you want to keep an actual ropefish, which is why I made a whole care guide. And if you want to see that video, I'll put it right here.